From David Hume's Enquiry Concerning Human Understanding, we are looking now at section 5, the skeptical solution of the skeptical doubts Hume has raised in section 4. Now, to review those skeptical doubts, Hume has said that our knowledge of the world outside the mind, beyond knowledge of our immediate perceptions and our memories of what we've experienced in the past, all our knowledge of anything else, particularly our knowledge of general principles, depends on cause and effect. It depends on understanding that there are causes and effects in the world, that causality happens. So, I perceive right now that these pens and pencils, pens, pencil, and highlighter are falling towards the center of the earth. And now that fact that that happened is stored in my memory. But how do I know that it's going to happen again? How do I know that there's such a thing as gravity? How do I know that next time I drop these writing utensils, they will fall towards the center of the earth? Hume thinks they will. Hume thinks you should continue to think that they will. But he wants to know, how do you know that they will? And he says, our knowledge of such general principles, like unobstructed objects fall towards the center of the earth, our knowledge of such principles depends on cause and effect. And there's no knowledge of the world which depends on the principle that cause and effect happen, unless we also know cause and effect. There's no knowledge that depends on a certain principle unless we also know that principle. This knowledge is derived from the principle that cause and effect happen, so we have to know that principle as well in order to know anything that's derived from it. Well, how do we know cause and effect happens? Not by any reasoning independently of experience, but we learn about cause and effect from experience. And how do we learn about cause and effect from experience? Taking it deeper, Hume has said, we're still reviewing part 4 here, section 4, Hume has said that knowledge of cause and effect depends on induction in the uniformity of nature. Now let's state those principles. The principle of induction is the principle that we can reason about what we have not experienced from what we have. The principle of the uniformity of nature is the principle that, loosely speaking, things always happen the same way. Or a little more precisely, the same fundamental principles that govern the world are always in place. Or the same laws of physics, the same foundational laws of physics are always in place. Things will continue to happen in the future the way they have in the past. And if writing utensils, when unobstructed, have fallen towards the center of the earth in the past, next time I drop them, they will do the same. The uniformity of nature and induction, or the principles of the uniformity of nature and induction, are how we know cause and effect. But how do we know them is now the question Hume brings us to. And it turns out we don't know them by reasoning either, and we don't actually know them from experience, because they are how we learn from experience. They are the principles by which we learn about the world from experience, so you can't learn about them from experience. So, how do we know them? Now, in part 1 of section 5, Hume's going to start to give his answer. And he says, there is some other principle which determines him to form such a conclusion, to form the conclusion that causality works because of the principle of induction and the principle of the uniformity of nature. There is some other principle which determines a person to form such a conclusion. This principle is custom or habit. This principle is custom or habit. That is why we believe in induction or the uniformity of nature. Not as the product of reasoning about the world from experience, because this is how we reason about the world from experience. It's not the product of reason about the world from experience. It is the source of reason about the world from experience. So, what's the source of that source? Custom or habit. The ultimate principle which we can assign of all our conclusions from experience, the ultimate principle is this principle of custom or habit. We have a custom, we have a habit of believing that induction works and acting accordingly, of believing that there is a uniformity to nature and reasoning accordingly. All inferences from experience, therefore, are effects of custom, not of reasoning, saith David Hume. We'll see more in the next video.